Fathers, how did your child change your life forever? Like any new parent, I thought my daughter's first word would be Dada. Instead, she pointed at my heart medication and said, bad. I laughed it off. She was only 2, what did she know? But she wouldn't stop. Every morning when I took my pills, she'd cry and say bad over and over. My wife said she was just being fussy. The doctor said kids that age mimic behaviors they see. Then one morning, my daughter knocked the pills out of my hand. They scattered across the floor, and she started stomping on them, screaming bad through her tears. Something about her desperation made me pause. I took the remaining pills to be tested. The pharmacist's face went white. These aren't heart medication, she said. They're poison. Turns out my wife had been slowly increasing the dosage, replacing my medicine with toxic lookalikes. The insurance policy on me was worth millions. She'd been planning this since before our daughter was born. The police found 3 sets of fake pills in her purse, each more lethal than the last. They also discovered she'd been practicing forging my signature on bank documents. She'd already drained half our savings into an offshore account in the Cayman Islands and Dubai. Now it's just me and my little guardian angel. She still checks my medicine every morning, but these days she smiles and says good instead. Sometimes I wonder if she really knew what was happening, or if some higher power was speaking through her.
People who have witnessed a murder, what happened? I used to work night security at Pinewood Hospital in the psych ward. One night, a new patient arrived, a 17-year-old girl named Maya. She was different from our usual patients. Quiet, talented, the kind of person who makes you wonder why life can be so unfair. Her parents looked defeated when they brought her in. I overheard her mom telling the intake nurse she was top of her class, full scholarship to art school. Then the voices started. Maya would sit for hours in the common room, drawing these incredibly detailed birds in her sketchbook. Not just any birds, ones breaking free from cages, flying through storms, finding light. Her hands would shake sometimes, but the art was still beautiful. Dr. Reynolds was assigned to her case. Everyone called him the miracle worker. Young, charming, with that perfect smile that administration loved. His patients improved faster than anyone else's. That's all they cared about. But I noticed something. He'd write prescriptions without checking charts, increase dosages when patients complained of side effects. He'd dismiss concerns with a wave of his hand. And strangely, the nurses who questioned him suddenly worked different floors. On my 3rd night shift, I walked past Maya's room. The door was cracked open, and I couldn't help but pause. The medicine makes my heart race, I heard her say, voice shaking. It feels wrong, like something's crushing my chest. Reynolds didn't even look up from his phone. I'm the doctor here, not you. Trust the process. That's when someone tapped my shoulder. It was Gloria, the older nurse who'd worked there for 20 years. He put her on 3 different medications, she whispered, eyes darting around to make sure no one heard. It's dangerous. These drugs should never be combined. The pharmacy system would have flagged it, but he must have overridden the warnings. I checked on Maya during my regular rounds. Her breathing seemed off, too shallow, too quick. Her skin looked almost gray. When I mentioned it to the night nurse, she just shrugged. Reynolds doesn't like questions. Last nurse who complained got transferred to geriatrics. That night, I kept walking by her room more often than my rounds required. Something felt wrong. Her face looked swollen, and her heart rate monitor was showing numbers that seemed too high. At 2:17 a.m., I was at my desk when Gloria rushed past. Get the crash cart to 214, she yelled. I sprinted after her. When I reached Maya's room, monitors were blaring. Maya was having violent seizures. Her back arched off the bed at an impossible angle, eyes rolled back. Reynolds arrived minutes later looking annoyed, like he was inconvenienced by being called in the middle of the night. What happened? He demanded. Her body is rejecting the medication combination, Gloria said, checking the digital chart. I told you these drugs interact. I know what I'm doing, he snapped. Just get her stabilized. The medical team worked for hours. By sunrise, they were still trying everything, but I could see in their faces. It was already too late. What happened to Maya still haunts me every single night. By afternoon, Maya was gone. Just like that, a talented, beautiful life erased. The hospital called it an unexpected medication reaction. Reynolds told her devastated parents it was incredibly rare and couldn't have been predicted. Gloria and I met Maya's parents at a diner. We showed them the medication chart, explained what Reynolds had done, how the hospital was covering it up. The lawsuit never made it to court. The hospital settled for $12 million. Reynolds lost his medical license. Maya had dreamed of becoming an art therapist. Her parents used that money to create Maya's Wings, art therapy centers for kids with mental illness. They hung her bird drawings on every wall. In the main hallway hangs that final drawing, the bird finally free. What's the darkest secret you discovered after a loved one's death? My grandfather's study had been locked for 3 days after his funeral. Nobody could find the key until I remembered the secret compartment in his old medical bag, the one he made me promise never to open. Inside, I found not just the key, but a stack of newspaper clippings about missing patients from his 40-year career as our town's doctor. That should have been my first warning. The lock clicked open to reveal 43 leather-bound journals, each one dated and numbered. Mom, my father's new wife, insisted we burn them all, saying his will demanded it, but she seemed too eager, her hands shaking as she reached for them. That's when I noticed her wrist, a small tattoo I'd never seen before. I started reading that night. The first journal seemed normal, patient records, house calls, typical doctor stuff. Then I found the pattern. Every 3rd Thursday, he'd write about special night consultations, patients who needed extra care. Each entry ended with 2 words, still breathing. But Journal 17 changed everything. There was a photo tucked inside. Mom, 20 years younger in a hospital gown. The patient number on her wristband, number 43. She wasn't my father's new wife who came into our lives 5 years ago. She was my grandfather's former patient, wearing my real mother's face, playing a role he had scripted decades ago. The final entry, written the day before he died, made my blood freeze. Patient 43 found the journals. Time to start fresh. Sarah, if you're reading this, check the basement freezer. Like grandfather, like granddaughter.
Have you ever beaten a liar in court? My business partner Steve thought he was untouchable when he orchestrated my firing from the tech startup we built together. Face it, you're just not CEO material, he said with that smug grin, waving the contract I'd stupidly signed 3 years earlier when I desperately needed his investment money. That document gave him majority control and voting rights. I'd poured my soul into building our user analytics platform from nothing. 18-hour days, missed family dinners, maxed out credit cards keeping us afloat during the lean months. But Steve had the business connections and deep pockets, so when he decided he wanted me gone, the board sided with him instantly. What none of them knew was that I'd been secretly documenting everything for months. Steve had been selling our client database to competitors, pocketing hundreds of thousands while telling investors we were barely breaking even. I had emails, transaction records, even recorded phone calls where he bragged about his side hustles. When I sued for wrongful termination and corporate theft, Steve went nuclear. He countersued me for $2 million, claiming I'd stolen proprietary code and sabotaged client relationships out of spite. His $800 an hour lawyer painted me as an unstable, vindictive employee who couldn't handle being fired. The courtroom was packed with tech industry reporters. Steve had leaked the story, positioning himself as the victim of a disgruntled partner's revenge plot. He testified for 2 hours about my alleged erratic behavior and suspicious late-night server access. His acting was Oscar-worthy. The judge seemed completely convinced. My lawyer looked defeated. Then I stood up. Your Honor, I'd like to present Exhibit A. I played the recording. Steve's voice filled the courtroom. The company's paying me $50K for the user emails alone. My naive partner will never check the offshore accounts. Steve's confident expression crumbled. The reporters started furiously typing, but I wasn't finished. Your Honor, I also discovered Mr. Harrison has been filing fraudulent tax returns. Here's documentation showing he claimed $300,000 in fake business expenses, including a company retreat that was actually his family's Hawaii vacation. Steve's lawyer was frantically whispering, trying to get him to shut up, but Steve couldn't help himself. He started yelling about how I'd illegally recorded him, how I was violating attorney-client privilege, making it worse with every word. The judge banged her gavel. Mr. Harrison, I suggest you exercise your right to remain silent. That's when the FBI agents walked in. Turns out my lawyer had contacted them weeks ago. Steve was arrested right there in the courtroom for wire fraud, tax evasion, and corporate espionage. The handcuffs clicking shut was the most satisfying sound I'd ever heard. 2 months later, I got the company back, plus $1.8 million in damages. Steve's facing 15 years in federal prison. He called me from jail last week. I seriously underestimated you, partner. I hung up without saying a word. His wife divorced him, his kids won't speak to him, and our former clients are lining up to sue him personally. The news made TechCrunch with the headline, Silicon Valley Startup Scandal Exposes $1 million Fraud. My company's valuation actually increased because investors saw I had integrity. Last month, Steve's mansion went into foreclosure. I drove by and saw the bank-owned sign on the lawn. His Tesla was gone, replaced by his lawyer's beat-up Honda as they cleaned out his office. If he'd just been honest and worked with me, we could have built something incredible together. Instead, his greed cost him everything. 3 weeks ago, I got a LinkedIn message from Steve's son. My dad destroyed our family, but your company inspired me to study computer science. Could I intern for you next summer? I hired him on the spot. Sometimes the best revenge is building something better than what was stolen from you. Steve's brother sent me a newspaper clipping of his sentencing. 15 years, just like they said. Written on the margin. He finally got what he deserved. Am I the jerk for completely destroying my former friend's entire life? Or did he get exactly what he deserved?